What did the fire keep? What did the flame redeem? And what did it take from me? Are three questions that this song asks that's about to release here in a couple days. I've asked those questions. I have pondered on what it really took from me when I participated in the last animal sacrifice when I was involved in an end times cult years ago. It left me with a feeling that I was alone. It left me with a feeling that I had been betrayed. It also felt like I had walked away from God's grace completely and utterly, and that there was no path of salvation for me. Though it was the beginning of a spiritual downward spiral, I fought, I prayed, I continued to seek God. I continued to try and find solace in what I had done. And there were several different types of animal sacrifices, and that's kind of what this video is going to be about. How in the world did I get involved in animal sacrifices? And in a previous video, I talk about how I don't wake up one day and think, hey, you know what, I want to sacrifice animals. And I definitely didn't wake up and think, you know what, I want to get involved in a cult. It didn't happen that way. It was a subtle, slow move of compromise after compromise after compromise. And in a previous video, I talk about how what they ended up doing was using New Testament scripture to try and reinforce an animal sacrifice. And you might be thinking, wait, what? Isn't Jesus like the ultimate sacrifice? Isn't that what Hebrews says? Yeah, true. True enough, fair enough. That is what Hebrews says, is that Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice, end all and be all. And Revelation, you obviously don't see any more animal sacrifices, right? So, but that's not what they did. What they did is they actually used the Gospels, and then they used the book of Acts for what they were doing to indoctrinate. And so they went to the Sermon on the Mount when Jesus is given the Beatitudes and talking about righteous living and all of that other stuff. And one of the things that Jesus points to in Matthew, when it comes to presenting your offering when you're in the temple to God and you know that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there at the altar, then go make peace, and then come back and then offer it over to God. And so Jesus is talking about this, and so you're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Jesus ends up healing lepers, and he tells these lepers, hey, go to the priests in the temple and go do what Moses had commanded you to do whenever you're healed of it. And so it's like, oh, now you're going back to Exodus, and you see the lepers in Leviticus chapter 13 and chapter 14. What happens if you find out that you're a leper, or if there's a leper among you? And what happens if a leper actually ends up finding healing or getting healed of some sort? Chapter 14 is all about that. And so that's how they kind of subtly bring in these animal sacrifices through the New Testament. And then going into Paul, when Paul gets arrested at the temple, he is going there with a guy, and he's going to do what is called a Nazirite vow. So they use those particular scripture verses to get you to accept that animal sacrifices are actually in the New Testament, period, when it comes to Jesus alive before his sacrifice. And then after his sacrifice, they use Paul going to do a Nazirite vow. Being an end times cult, they believed that Jesus was going to return soon, and that we were his chosen people, and that we would be the priest. For some reason, in some small little area in Texas, we were going to be the chosen people for his glorious millennial kingdom where animal sacrifices would be had. And you're thinking, wait, where does it say that? This is where they take you into Ezekiel. And in Ezekiel chapter 40 through chapter 48, there is what is a millennial kingdom time, or what is called a millennial period, according to the book of Ezekiel. And there you see priests presenting offerings. And they say, well, if this is the millennial kingdom, why are there animal sacrifices going on? And so we need to have animal sacrifices and stuff like that. And so the training begins. And the training After I accept the fact that there's animal sacrifices, its training begins using logs, skinning logs, learning how to use a particular knife and how to cut and all that, because it needs to be kosher. And so they start bringing in oral traditions that come in through Judaism, and so that way that you are presenting the animal pure and clean, and the kill is also going to be pure and clean, and so that the animal doesn't suffer and stuff like that. So that's what you start off on, is logs. And they had built this tabernacle out in the middle of nowhere, secluded. There was a pasture there that was surrounded by trees, so that it would keep anybody that was near the road from being able to see what was going on. Though you could take this dirt path and drive down there and you could see it. I'm sure there might be some satellite view somewhere 20 years ago where you'd be able to see it. Almost 20 years ago. It's more like 17 years ago, right? So there might be a satellite view from way back when, over this small little area where you could see these posts that were put up to resemble that of a tabernacle. There was a menorah, there was the tent of meeting, there was a sacrifice altar, there was a water basin where you would wash the sacrificed animals in, and all that other stuff before you presented it and put it on the burnt offering. It was this whole thing. And the first animal sacrifice that I participated in was the Passover sacrifice. And so there were some lambs and there were goats, and it was like a barbecue pretty much, except really fresh and really good. And there wasn't like any kind of guilt or anything like that. In fact, it kind of made me appreciate the Lord's Supper a little more, and it made me appreciate John chapter 6 a little more too, and trying to understand that when Jesus talks about eating his flesh and drinking his blood, and where the Eucharist for communion comes in and stuff like that. So that was really all fascinating. But it wasn't just that. But you had to have like all these utensils before you actually can present a real animal. They got to be clean. And so how do you do that? And so they ended up having a red heifer. They found this red heifer and sacrificed it so they can clean everything and make it ritually pure. And you would have thought, oh man, I need to get out of this. I need to run away from this as fast as possible. But that's just not what happened. Leading up, I did that for a few years, and then what ended up happening at the very last animal sacrifice was what I thought was for a community sin offering of unknown sin. And thinking about it for the last few weeks, as I'm getting ready to put this song out and talk about it, whatnot, I go back and start trying to find, community sin offering that's a waste offering. There's only one that I could find. Only one, and it is for a murder. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, nobody was murdered in the community. Nobody had died in this community. What are we doing here? And so there's some unknowns of maybe I blocked it out of why the reason behind it was. I don't really remember, but that happened. That happened. And that particular event began my journey. To where I would end up, I wouldn't call it deconstructing from faith, but it is a place where I ended up realizing I no longer believed. I no longer believed in Jesus Christ. I no longer believed in the God of the Bible, and that began a long process of trying to figure out what is true, what is real, and grapple with moral questions that I have now and stuff like that. And I didn't know what to do except write songs. And that's what this project is all about, is exploring what I've experienced and some other things. Some of it is going to be fantasy and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's going to be questions that I've been grappling with. It's things that I have experienced, and it's all over the place. It's going to go back, way back, and it's also going to be very close into what is current. And I'm hoping you're all in for the ride. And if you haven't known this, What Did the Fire Keep is coming out soon. I do have a question for you though. What has taken you away from God? Is there an experience that you yourself have had where you're like, you know what? I don't know if I really believe anymore. Was it something to deal with maybe contradictions that might have appeared to you or explained to you or something? What has taken you, I'm curious to know, from faith if you are no longer walking in faith? I'd like to hear that. Put it in the comments section down below. You're more than welcome to. I'm not going to come and beat you up or anything like that over it, but I am wanting to know. And if this does help you, and my goal is actually to warn people about end time cults or cults in general and what they kind of do. And I do have more coming up, and I'm going to let this song simmer for a while. And then I'm going to do a Q&A live later on about this particular one, so that if you've got more questions about this song and what inspired it and other lines that might be in there, it is true. Every line in it is true. And I'm thankful that I'm able to share it now. I'm thankful that I'm willing to share it now. If it just helps one person, awesome. But mostly I hope that it impacts and inspires others. And with that, I will see you all in the next Behind the Mirror episode. Take care, guys. See you in What Did the Fire Keep? It's going to be streaming on all platforms: Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Apple Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio. It's going to be all over the place. And see you all there. Take care. Bye.